with a bit of Wellington Phoenix.
Yeah, might as well.
Wellington Phoenix, who have no issues scoring goals. They,
Well, the men don't.
yeah, well, yeah, just let me set it up, like let me set it up. The Costa Barbarosis, another goal for Costa Barbarosis, timely finish, and I also saw a shot from David Ball. Did go
He didn't
past the
score, but it was a shot. Yeah.
yeah, did go past the far post, but he took a shot. They had a good win. I can't remember who was against.
Perth Glory.
Perth Glory, but not in Perth, and Ollie Sale was not playing for Perth. So that was a good win for the Wellington Phoenix men. Wellington Phoenix women, they were playing away from home, so we already know what happens there. Probably lost that game. My question, from that loss away from home, and if you can remember back through any other losses away from home, most of their away from home fixtures at this stage, who is the best player in these losses away from home? Who is the best player from the weekend, and has that player also been the best player in other losses away?
Well, first off, 2 goals and an assist for Costa Barbarouses in that Perth Glory game, so he was all over it, which I think takes him up to 8 goals for the season, and I think 4 assists overall as well. So he's actually only one player in the entire A League who is ahead of him for sort of overall goal contributions, goals plus assists, and that's old mate Fornaroli, who's scoring bundles, and I think he scored 5 in a game earlier on in the season. So that dude's doing that. Costa Barbarouses is the next most prolific attacker in the competition. That's sweet as. The women, it's hard to pinpoint who a best player would be from these away games, because it just feels like everything is only 80% of what they show in the home games. And that's kind of the issue. Like, it's across the board. It's they're 5 games in a row that they've lost now away from home. Technically, the game on the weekend was a home game because the Unite round fell when they were supposed to be playing at home, which is a disaster because it means that they now have 12 games in Australia and only 10 games in New Zealand. Hold on a second, my computer disappeared. There it comes. So, like, that's, I mean, for a team that has such a disparity between home and away, that's not good. But these away games, it's not like they've been dominated in any of them. They've lost by a single goal in all 5 of these away game, in all 5 of this away game losing streak, however that sentence is supposed to end. They're close. Like, there's little things that would improve, but I don't think it's like there's one aspect that's just so much worse when they play away. It's not like, I mean, their goal scoring is a factor. They've not been scoring as many goals, but they're also not creating as many chances in these away games. And maybe that's not the strikers' fault. This is as much as it is the midfielders aren't progressing as much because the defenders aren't. Like, it's just, the kind of thing that's spread out across an overall team performance is leading to fewer goals. They haven't scored in the second half of any of these games. They have scored first in a couple of them and gone on to lose 2-1. There's also been a couple 1-0 defeats. But yeah, it feels like their away performance across the board are just 80% of the substance of their home performances. So I don't know how you pick a best player out of that. I think it sort of goes game to game. I thought on the weekend, Rebecca Lake was their best player. But I think in other games, you might have fallen back on, like, I don't know, goalies have been mostly good apart from a couple of notable mistakes. Brisbane game, obviously, Riley Foster, I think it was Brisbane, had a bit of a mare for one of the goals, but then she's also played very well in other ones. And Brianna Edwards has been really good when she's played. I think she's played a home game and an away game, but I can't remember. Like, there's bits and pieces. Macy Fraser's had some good games and also some quieter ones. I thought Alyssa Wyndham was quite promising in her first start of the season on the weekend, but then I also thought Wynnum and Fraser in the same team is excellent. I love that. I think there's a real good combination to fall back upon. But then when you also have that with Kate Taylor and Annalie Longo as the other midfielders, it's maybe just a little bit two attacking, and Taylor is there as a defensive midfield. The other three are all there to sort of attack. Wynnum playing a bit more as like a little bit further forward than the others, probably really technically in the front line, but it did operate a little bit like a box midfield at times. Maybe the balance isn't there. Like maybe there isn't the one player in the midfield who goes forward and goes back, a la, for example, Chloe Knott and Grace Wisniewski. Neither of them are available at the moment for different reasons. Knott's not with the club anymore, and Wisniewski's out injured. So, like, just have the box-to-box type midfielder just to tie things together, I think perhaps is something that's been affected, and that gets into what I think is one of the major issues that they've had, which is just not being able to pick consistent teams, where the men have 8 players. This is like astonishing to think about 12 games into a season. Both teams have played 12 games. The men have 8 players who have started every one of those 12 games, including 4 guys who have played every single minute this season. That includes Tim Payne, who backed up after an all-whites tour to play 90 minutes in one game famously. He hasn't missed a minute this season. Finn Sermon hasn't missed a minute this season. Scott Wooden hasn't missed a minute this season. Alex Paulson hasn't missed a minute this season. That's 3 of your back 4 and your goalkeeper have been ever present. Like, that kind of stability is fantastic. The Wellington Phoenix women have 0 players who have started every game this season. They've got a few on 11, and a few of them have started 11, but everyone's like missed something here or there, and they don't necessarily align. And every game, it seems like there's 3 or 4 changes that need to be made for various reasons. And I don't think they've quite got that continuity. But having said that, I mean, last year there were heaps of games, the year before as well, even more so, where like they were competitive sometimes. They were also just not competitive in others. This team has been competitive in every game this season. All of these away defeats we're talking about are single goal defeats. They're not that far away. It's just, yeah, it's got to be a little bit sharper. It's across the board. You just tighten things up just a little bit more, and then some of these 2-1 defeats turn into 1-1 draws or 2-2 draws or even 2-1 victories. You know, they're not far away, and it's big steps up from what they've done in previous seasons. But as much as the consistency has gotten so much better week on week, just some of the big moments are still eluding them, I think, which is the opposite of what you say about the men, who have had several games where it felt like they've been dominated against, and yet have still got something out of those games, where they're just a little bit able to score that one big chance, or to defend their goal for longer periods, and turn that into victories, holding on late on, and strong, picking up in the second half rather than fading off in the second half, as the women seem to have been doing in a few of these games, which I think is also fitness related, which I think is also depth related, which when you have injuries in your squad, I think those things are all connected as to why their second halves haven't been as good. But I mean, you can see what it's supposed to look like with the men's team at the moment, who is doing a lot of these things very well and have been able to get consistent results away from home. It's just, it's just tightening up a couple of nuts and bolts, and that and those performances will fix things in a hurry. But you just got to do it. You got to figure it out first.
I'm doing a bit of footballing mathematics, and also a couple of highlights I saw. Wellington Phoenix are first in the A-League, so they're the best team in the A-League, right? Like, can we say that?
They're top of the table, Yeah. Standings don't lie.
Well, sometimes they do.
Sometimes they do, but in this case, they're at least first equal. I think they're tied on points with Melbourne Victory still, but have more wins but less goal difference. Tiebreaker is wins at the moment. Whatever. They're at the very least one of the 2 best teams.
We're from Aotearoa, so let's say they're the best team in the A-League.
Yeah.
Wellington Phoenix are the best team in the A-League, and they have a dude in the center of their midfield called Alex Rufer. Is Alex Rufer one of the best players in the A-League?
In his role, perhaps. He's having his best season. That's beyond doubt at this point. Like, once you get 3 months in, I don't think you can argue that. But yeah, I mean, he's still like a limited midfielder in some aspects, but he's just a great example of someone who knows his strengths and does those specific things extremely well in a way that complements the players around him. and doesn't detract in any way. He makes guys around him better by just doing what he does very well. So I think within his specific role, yeah, I'd say he's one of the best players around the A League.
What are his limitations?
I don't think he's necessarily a guy. He scored this as bad timing because he scored a bit of a banger of a goal on the weekends, like piled one into the bottom corner.
Yep.
That's only his third goal of his A League career. One was a penalty, and the other one was.
Well, so you're saying a limitation for a centre midfielder is he doesn't score enough goals.
Yeah, well, I think you need some goals from midfield. But that's also what I'm saying is that's not his role. So he has limitations, but the limitations don't apply necessarily to what he's asked to do. And he does have a little bit of creative passing. Like it's not necessarily dude who beats a defender and well, he's not playing those like kind of sliding low passes in behind for someone to run onto, but his angled chips over the top are really good. And that's something that they've lent on a bit more this season than before. That stuff is awesome. Like he's hitting Costa Barbarouses, making smart runs, chipping over the top on the angle. That stuff's beautiful. Because other than that, he's like it's a functional kind of role. Let's get the ball, keep it moving, turn out of pressure, just be a cog in the machine. But that's what he's asked to do, and that's what he does very well.
Yeah, I think he's one of the best players in the A League. Like every time the ball's around you, you suck it up, you hoover it up, you vacuum it up, little spin, little bit of a body shimmy to throw off the defender, and then every pass is on the money. Like I don't know if you've got like passing accuracy stats.
Can you look it up?
Can we just do a mini deep dive to finish the podcast here on Alex Rufer? Because every pass I see him throw is glorious. If it's a long ball to the other side of the field, and that is a skill set. Can you find the space? Can you see the space? Can you sense the space and then execute the pass to get the ball to the space? But before all of that, he either wins the ball through defense or he receives the ball under pressure, gets out of that pressure, and makes the pass. To me, in my highly uneducated A-League opinion, there's not many other players who are playing as classy as Alex Rufer in the midfield. And he's doing it for the best team in the A-League. So I think that reflects pretty positively on Alex Rufer as a footballer, as well as him in his role.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if I can find. He's completing 45 accurate passes per 90 minutes at a success rate of 84.9. So, like, not as good as like Sermon and Wooden are both over 90s and are making more passes, but obviously that's centre back passes. You know, those are passing to each other and to their fullbacks sideways, and hit a lot of those would be to Rufer as well, who then spins out of pressure. Advances it forward. Like those are different scenarios, and I think that's pretty good for a dude in his position. Yeah, like he has a role and he does that role extremely well. I do like when I say he has limitations, I think those limitations would be more exposed on other teams and have been in previous Phoenix teams. And this Phoenix team, they're not at all. Like the coach has put him in a specific spot with specific instructions that bring out the best of Alex Rufer, and he has responded by taking what we thought was the best of Alex Rufer and raising the bar even further, which is the same thing you can say about Costa Barbarouses. Like he's also a player who has his limitations. Everyone in the A-League has limitations, right? Like if you don't, you're not playing in the A-League. you're playing Premier League or something. Costa Barbarouses is a dude who looked on struggle street last season, and then this year he's playing again one of his best ever seasons as well. He's fantastic, and it just looks like everything flows with him. It looks like everything's happened naturally, and it just fits. Like the jigsaw puzzle, just the pieces are all in the right spot. That's also massive credit to Chiefy and how he's reorganized this team, because those are not new signings. Those are guys who have been in this team before, and he's sort of adjusted what's expected of them to get the best out of them. Like it's fantastic from those players and how they've performed first and foremost, but it's also fantastic from a coach to put them in that position and to get that response out of them.
Yeah, I'm not saying Alex Rufer is one of the best footballers in the world.
No,
but I think he is definitely one of the best players in the A-League. And yeah, I understand everything he's saying about the role, but he's also a centre midfielder. So everything he's good at and everything he does well is centre midfielder stuff. Like his role is a centre midfielder, and obviously there's intricacies in the different roles of a midfield. But if I'm picking a centre midfielder, I want him. Now, do I want him over a Marko Stamenic? Maybe not. But again, as I said earlier about the Black Caps seam, like now there's a couple of those lads for the All Whites, which I think is pretty cool, and that is the end of our cool podcast.